war's broken out. So how come it's so easy for all our characters to get wherever they need to be, and in record time for some? Will Kelly finally find life on another world? And will there be any repercussions or revealed secrets that have been hinted at all season? It's time to talk about, analyze, review, breakdown, and rant about the For All Mankind Season 5 finale, This Land Is Our Land.
Spoiler alert! Shells up!
We start with the story rewinding a little, with Dell telling the citizens of Happy Valley to help or find shelter.
What's Polyvanov doing there at the command center? Wasn't he taken by the Marines?
GG, the commander just said we rewound the story a little, which means he hasn't been taken yet. Keep up.
And it seems everyone is working on the same goal. Keep Happy Valley standing. Even Irina.
When prisoners become allies.
Apparently, she's just waiting for the word from Moscow that her government has collapsed, which will somehow mean the M6 will be dissolved, and that will stop the fighting on Mars.
Kinda like when you kill the big bad and all their minions die as a result.
Because that's obviously how it always works.
That's definitely the plan. All while Elena is there trying to re-establish communications with both Earth and Titan. And somehow, even she feels partly responsible for what's happening now.
Well, how is she responsible in any way?
No idea, but she feels it nonetheless.
But she didn't do anything. She didn't take any sides. Even when all hell broke loose on Mars for the last 6 months, all she did was focus on the Titan mission.
She's confused and emotions are wrought.
She's really distressed because she can't send the new trajectory to Sojourner so the crew can leave Titan. So here we go again with the apparent pressing matter of needing to get them off that moon, when they should have been able to stay there for months, and it shouldn't be a stressful matter, like, at all.
We've got to create more tension somehow.
Isn't a war enough?
While Elena struggles, Polyvanov has a plan to somehow get himself rescued by the Marines, as they still think he's one of the hostages, in order to find out where their headquarters are and to take out all the officers.
Looks like you were right, McCluck. He hadn't switched sides last episode.
Least surprising reveal ever.
Back on Earth, we're told a bunch of nations led by the ISN are condemning the invasion, and all this mess threatens to destabilize peace treaties around the world.
Nothing like a war to wreck everything. And Margot's there, still in her cell.
What? What's she gonna do?
Oh, I think she's just there for the memories, McCluck.
And we catch up with the moment of Polyvanov's rescue.
You've got to wonder how the Marines fell for it. I mean, ignoring the fact that this time they didn't shoot people on sight like they've done up to now, right from the first blockade, and also when Palmer and the other peacekeepers made trigger happy Marines.
That current group obviously have sturdy plot armor.
Well, undoubtedly, but I find it hilarious that they staged being captured, with Polyvanov being part of the defensive position, and with him carrying a gun, and he's supposed to be a captive. How does that work?
Well, it works, but we knew that from the last episode anyway. Marines aren't very observant. It's better than that, Gigi. The rebels tracked Polyvanov with one of those big, chunky, highly visible ankle monitors, like the one Ed had at the start of the season, with a blinking green light and everything.
Most inconspicuous.
While all this is going on Titan, the away team and the Sojourner crew express their concern at their loss of contact with Mars, while Walt is treating Elena's wound.
Her wound looks pretty superficial, considering her flesh would have been exposed to the unbelievable cold of minus 180 degrees C, which would have led to instant frostbite. Here it looks most like a bad graze, not like tissue having experienced deep freezing and serious damage.
Science isn't this show's strong point anymore, Doc.
No, it isn't.
And what's even odder is Kelly did get that glowing liquid sample when she was rescuing Elena, but she didn't tell anyone, not even Walt, and while he's now trying to contact the ship, she's surreptitiously doing some experiments on it.
Why should she be covert about it? With everything that's going on, why the subterfuge? I mean, she's the acting leader as well, for God's sakes.
So we can have an artificial confrontation?
Artificial tension created by fake drama isn't tight, McCluck.
You're telling me.
Well, artificial or not, Walt figures out pretty much instantly what's going on, and the argument that ensues is dissipated just as quickly as the test sample comes back positive.
Damn, that was fast. Last sample they tried took ages to get back results as they were expected it would.
We'll leave them to get excited about this world-changing discovery, as Polyvanov has reached the Marines' headquarters, which means the rebels know where they are and which module to sabotage.
So what's their plan?
Well, they aim to increase the O2 level in there to 100%, spark the electrical system, and
Kaboom!
Well, except Aleda's not keen on killing people.
Well, isn't she aware these Marines have been indiscriminately killing unnamed characters throughout the base?
And named ones. Don't forget the named ones.
Well, I'm sure she does, but she just doesn't want the rebels to do it too.
I must say, I did like the fact that the residents of Mars changed all the signs around the base, which explains why that French demon, and all the other Marines in fact, kept getting lost.
Just like the Resistance did during World War II.
Okay, I know the base is big, but it's not that big, so why couldn't they actually read their maps and navigate with those instead? But yeah, I did appreciate the reference too.
And as the O2 rises and they're preparing to blow up that module, Alea arrives as a prisoner.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, indeed, as Alea sees Polivanov as a traitor, which was the plan, of course, and Polivanov knows how little time is left before the whole place blows. So he's gonna have to get him out of the room and safe without anyone else catching on. It's tense for a few seconds, even as one of the rebels is unwilling to initiate the spark.
Pussy.
But Del does it, and Polivanov and Alea get out just in the nick of time.
Damn, that was close.
And while our characters feel the repercussions of their actions, especially Del who pressed the button, and Aleda who pleaded with them not to do it,
What did she expect from an invasion? Milk and cookies and warm hugs.
Yeah, war as hell, and horrific though it was, Del was right to do it.
it's time for a break from all this tension. Margot has a visitor, Aleda's daughter.
What? Why? What can these characters provide to the story?
Well, the episode is an hour and 10 minutes long, far longer than any of the others, so I guess we needed to see what all the other characters were doing, including those that we hadn't seen for a long while.
Well, Graciana is there to see if Margot can help her somehow find a way to establish communication with Bars so she can know if her mom's okay.
So, a kid is asking a person who's in prison for help. What can either of them do?
Who knows? But while they figure that out, on Titan, we learn that the life they found is based on methane, unlike carbon like we have on Earth.
That's not accurate, Commander.
Well, I'm only repeating what the show tells us, Doc.
Well, although life based around methane is theoretically possible, it doesn't replace carbon, but instead it replaces water as the solvent inside which biochemistry can happen. They could have just said, life is based on methane, unlike water. Why bring carbon into the mix?
You've got to wonder what the show's science advisor's smoking sometimes.
If they even have one.
Exactly.
Anyway, our away team won't be celebrating for too long. Not only can they not contact their ship, but now the rover won't start. They still have oxygen, but it won't last that long.
Uh-oh.
Oh, indeed, Gigi. But never mind that. We finally caught up with Alex, Haskell, and Avery, who reached Dev's hideaway, and Dev is getting his team to try and save Haskell.
About time. I'd almost forgotten about them.
And what's Dev doing during all that?
He's letting his team do their job, although he does look shell-shocked, like he's gonna do something potentially reckless. But he won't do it just yet, as we need to head back to Margot's prison, where she's been trying to contact a bunch of people at NASA, and they all refuse to talk to her. All of them, except one. Will Tyler.
The astronaut from Season 3's Mars mission.
Well, yeah, that's where we first met him, although we did spot him here and there over the last couple of seasons.
So what's he gonna do?
Nothing, really. He tells her he doesn't know anything, and even if he did, he couldn't divulge anything anyway.
This all feels like a waste of precious runtime.
Well, I guess it just shows us other previously main characters are worried too.
And how does that serve the story, I ask you?
It doesn't, I'll grant you that. Back on Mars, Polivanov and Alea have made it back to the command center.
How exactly? I mean, I know they took down the entire Marines headquarters, but the base is still crawling with soldiers, and there must have been guards just outside the blown-up modules who would have been rushing in to see what happened.
Well, maybe they went through the base's secret tunnels?
However they got there, their return means everyone in Mars's command center now leaves for the main street where the final showdown with the Marines is due to happen.
Everyone?
Yes. Everyone.
Well, except for Aleda, who keeps clicking on her computer in the vain hope that will somehow make the satellites work again.
She's still upset at all the death.
Weird she seems more upset they successfully took down the Marines' leaders than all the Marsies the Marines have killed and will undoubtedly kill.
Well, she thought the rebels were better than that. Which leads Irina, who was the sole other person who remained at the command center, to chat with her. They both work together to try and figure out how to communicate with the rest of the solar system. Irina even discloses the fact that the KGB has a few secret satellites in orbit around Mars. They're not so secret though, as Aleda knew of them already, and they too don't work. And then Aleda remembers the old decommissioned satellites.
Yeah. It turns out they keep those in orbit instead of letting their orbits decay and crash down on the Mars surface for some reason.
Well, they say it's cheaper to keep them in orbit.
How exactly is that cheaper? You have to keep track of anything in orbit and take it into consideration for any space maneuver. Surely, it would have been cheaper to plan a controlled re-entry and crash a satellite away from anywhere of interest on Mars, just like we do for Earth's satellites.
Well, if they'd done the sensible thing, Dog, they wouldn't have the ability to revive an old satellite and send a message to Earth, would they?
Bad science saves the day. Again.
But it's not as easy as it should be. The satellite they need can only be activated from the Helios compound.
Because of course it does. So, they're just gonna go to Dev and ask him to help? He's been their enemy for over 6 months now.
Well, he's got to turn good again somehow, right? As Aleda and Irina head for the Helios compound, it gives us an opportunity to check in on Dev and his team, and we quickly learn that Haskell is gonna be okay.
Well, that's a relief.
And Alex and Every share a moment about their respective shock of having shot someone. Then she gets up and goes find her unit.
I'm just constantly amazed how easily people from different factions can just get around the base effortlessly, despite the fact that the Marines keep getting lost and there's blockades and fighting everywhere.
I'm actually amazed there hasn't been a breach anywhere on the base, but with all the shooting.
The entire base must be bulletproof, Doc.
Now, how would that even work, McCluck? Can you imagine the expense, not to mention all the weight of all that bulletproof material which would have had to be shipped from Earth? The logistics alone would be...
Forget logistics, Doc. Here's how they did it. The writers typed, "No bullets could breach any walls." There. Done.
Well, pity that wasn't done for when the dome was breached during Alex's surprise birthday party. So they just let Avery go?
Not only that, but Alex even helps her by giving her instructions.
So she can go back to the war and maybe kill some more of his friends?
Never mind war being hell. This war is, hella confusing.
I'm sure there will be more confusion in store for us.
As we get ready for that, we catch up with Dell and the others getting Main Street prepared for their ambush.
I'm amazed the base is so big the Marines still haven't reached it yet.
That's okay, as it's given time for Lilith, Boyd, and the others to meet up with everyone there.
We can now look forward to Lilith confronting her dad about having betrayed the base back in 03.
That'll have to wait as we head back to Titan, where we find out the rover is completely dead, and Walt, Kelly, and Elena are weighing up their options. They're considering walking the 20 clicks back to the ship because it should be easy due to the moon's low gravity.
Nice of them to finally mention the low gravity. Shame that wasn't taken into account when Elena climbed that rock face.
But that won't help anyway, as they don't have enough O2 to make it back should they walk.
Looks like someone's gonna be staying behind.
Well, obviously, Kelly offers to stay behind.
She's been carrying the guilt of getting them to land instead of flying back, so I guess that makes sense.
It makes zero sense, Gigi. Sorry for being harsh, but the wooden person is obviously the one who has to stay behind. I don't even know why that's up for discussion.
Maybe it's reverse psychology to get Elena to volunteer instead.
Well, that's not what's happening. Walt volunteers instead, and he's turned down because he has a family and 3 young kids, and Elena volunteers, but she's completely ignored.
Kelly's guilt complex is strong.
But there's no time to argue. Walt and the wounded Elena have to go, like, now.
Why don't I feel anything about any of this?
Because you're an unfeeling, heartless old chicken?
Well, yes, but no, that's not it. Like, they knew the electronic cables were being corroded somehow when they found the state of their robot when they arrived at the site, so why did they not keep track of the cables on their rover? And how come the rover's power went down, but not the power in the mobile lab? And if that module's electronics are fine, why not use its power to start up the rover?
Well, maybe something like that will happen, or not, but right now, Dave found Lilith's camcorder and is watching the footage.
He's being really moved by it.
So he goes to talk to Alex, who's just taking Dev's medical supplies and no one's stopping him. They have some sort of a heart-to-heart while he's doing that, and Dev realizes he was so focused on trying to get the right people to Mars that he hadn't realized the right people were there already.
How pathetic is that?
Well, it's an about turn, isn't it? And with that, he offers his guards to bring the medical supplies to Medbay so Alex can stay with his friend. Which brings us back to Margot. We hear on her radio that the Russian leader has gone missing.
Isn't it amazing how much we hear of important developments from news reports? Whatever happened to show, don't tell.
Well, you have to tell a lot when your budget isn't up to the scale of your story.
Ain't that the truth?
She informs Graciana that she couldn't get any info from NASA, and that some problems just can't be fixed. Which brings us back to Titan, where Walt and Elena are leaving and Kelly's staying behind.
Some problems can't be fixed indeed.
I don't know. I'm sure she'll be able to fix the problem somehow. I mean, there's still a bunch of runtime left.
But that runtime has to be shared with the other threads, McCluck, like Elena and Irina having reached Dev's compound.
Because of course they did. Everyone can get anywhere on the base without any issue, risk, or confrontation.
It makes you wonder why the Marines are taking so long to get to Main Street.
Well, anyway, she's there to reactivate the satellite, which Dev helps her with, except it doesn't work. So Dev suggests using a higher antenna.
The space elevator?
I mean, why not? They can go anywhere they want. What's a little trip to a massive construction project in the middle of an invasion?
Which leads us to checking in on Avery's progress. She somehow found her platoon just as they're ready to take down the Marsi's headquarters.
The one they all left to ambush people on Main Street?
Yeah.
The one we were told the Marines could not under any circumstances take over, and yet they've left it empty?
The very same.
Cool.
During that time, we learned that no one had to go to the space elevator after all. They just had to flip a switch or something to boost the signal from said structure.
Cool.
And it's all working. Alex sends Aleda's Titan trajectory to Star City, who will hopefully send it on to Sojourner. And he also finds a bunch of video messages that were just waiting there to be seen.
So, the Russians sent messages on an old frequency that could only be received by a decommissioned satellite.
It looks that way, Doc.
And how did a decommissioned satellite, i.e. one that was powered down and inactive, manage to receive and store messages anyway? Like, when you shut down your computer, it doesn't receive anything.
Until you start it up again, Doc.
Yeah, but only when it connects to the servers and get the new data. Easy on Earth, as the servers are on the same planet. On Mars, it should have taken like 15 to 20 minutes for the satellite to inform the server it's back online, and 15 to 20 minutes more for the servers to send it their data.
But who's got time to wait 40 minutes, Doc?
Well, there is that.
In any case, we don't have time to listen to them, as Avery and her team get to Mars HQ, except it's not Mars HQ, it's Main Street.
Those damned maps again.
All the signage has been changed, remember? So the Marines followed those signs instead of relying on their maps.
That just doesn't sound sensible.
Hang on, Mouse. Are you telling me Avery's platoon is actually the only one left from the Marines' invasion force?
No, there's another one, and they both find themselves surrounded by the rebels. And while that's happening, Irina translates those satellite messages for the others. The leader of the USSR has been deposed, Russia has left the M6, and are demanding a ceasefire. But that message can't reach the Marines HQ.
That's because it no longer exists.
So Dev comes up with a plan. He'll go to the space elevator to redirect the signal so the Marines know of the change of order.
So he has to do that manually, whereas he could connect to the elevator's antennas from his compound in just minutes before?
Well, that's what they're going with. And that's not all. While Dev is doing that, Alex will go and tell the Marsis directly there's supposed to be a ceasefire.
But Alex would never make it on time.
He would if he uses his bike.
What? How? Didn't he leave his bike somewhere outside the base? I mean, so that means he'd have to go to an airlock and then suit up and go out, bring the bike back in, take his suit off, and then ride through the corridors? How much time would all of this actually save if you think about it for just 1 second?
Maybe Dev had a spare one?
Was there any indication Dev had?
Time is actually pretty flexible, McCluck, as somehow Dev got to the top of the space elevator in like no time at all.
Not quite to the top, Doc. He still has a few more rungs to climb.
Still, that's impressively fast.
He wasn't fast enough, though, as shooting has started on Main Street and bodies are dropping.
Oh no!
And Speedy Alex finally gets there and manages to find cover near some of the other Marsis.
Yeah, all thanks to Avery jarring one of her Marines' guns so he misses his shot.
Oh, lucky.
And Dev points his manual transmitter to the right area in the sky so both the Marines and the rebels get the ceasefire order at the same time.
Lucky!
All while Elena and Walt make it back to Sojourner.
So that means Kelly really didn't make it?
Yeah, it seems that was really the end of the road for our Kelly. And meanwhile, in a series of montage, we see Margot and Graciana chatting about the Titan discovery, Dale becoming Mars's new governor.
So that sort of Damocles of his never fell?
Oh, seems not.
Although Lilith doesn't look as happy as she should be, that knowledge is eating away at her.
Looks like it'll be eating away at her all the way to the next season, Gigi. We see a memorial to those who died, and Avery's popping back to that Korean capsule where her dad killed himself.
They just can't let season 3 go, can they?
They never will, McCluck.
And Dev and Lee are replanting food in the repaired domes.
So, no repercussions for all the deaths Dev is responsible for?
None.
Justice is swift when it's non-existent.
And all this takes place while we hear Kelly's final message, and when she's done talking, she decides to leave her module,
which still has power, amazingly,
and walk to a nearby methane lake with the moon landing plate Ada had stolen from the Apollo 11.
A nearby methane lake, you say?
Oh yeah. Turns out that lake is not only close enough for her to walk to, but it's also full of bioluminescent life, so she decides to walk into the lake itself.
She walks into a lake of methane that's like minus 180 degrees C.
Never mind that. What about her contaminating Titan life?
She's dying. I don't think she cares anymore, Doc.
Some scientist she is.
And as with all of this show's finales, we end up with a quick teaser of what's coming next. The year is 2020, and a damaged and abandoned ship is somehow reawakened.
It's the MAPC-94. That's the Russian ship that failed getting to Mars back in Season 3. It's like these writers think that season was the absolute best or something, and they keep bringing elements of it back.
Oh, I'm sure our viewers know our feelings about Season 3, McCluck.
Never hurts to repeat it, Commander. And credit where credit's due. This finale was better than Season 3's.
Talk about damning with faint praise.
And don't I know it, this was supposed to be an explosive finale depicting a war on another world with people fighting for what is right and their very survival. But I felt like absolutely zero tension.
Well, Haskell could have died.
He could have, but he was stabilized pretty quickly, so he didn't. And really, the base was overwhelmed with wave after wave of Marines last episode, yet somehow, by taking out the HQ, they all disappeared and we were left with just a handful of soldiers. It felt like it was a completely different war than the one we experienced last week. And let's not mention the fact that all our characters could just come and go as they please.
And what about repercussions? The war happened because of Dev's bullshit idea to have robots everywhere. But after he's had a change of heart, it's all good? And what about the original murder that started the entire story? I mean, I know Fred's dead along with Palmer, but what about that Russian company on whose orders these covert drop-offs were done? Nothing?
It feels like all those details were just dropped by the wayside, Doc.
And how did Alex get hold of his bike? And come to think of it, how did Avery get hold of one too to get to that Korean Soyuz capsule? Wasn't it like over 90 clicks away? That's a heck of a ride to get there and back. Not to mention how she got permission to do it. Shouldn't she have been ordered back to her ship when the ceasefire occurred?
I've got nothing to counter that argument, Doc.
And Kelly's death should have been a big one, but instead, I just felt annoyance of her contaminating a methane lake.
And her stumbling across all that life just reminding me of Wall-E, where the whole story was about saving that one plant they discovered, when it's found out at the end that there were a slew of them just on the other side of the hill.
Oh, please don't compare this finale with the amazingly well-crafted and impactful Wall-E, McCluck.
Yeah, sorry. My bad. Thing is, there's a lot of stuff that just didn't make sense here, that happened for convenience just to make the story happen, where distances and dangers were meaningless, where science and basic facts were ignored. It just wasn't the most well thought out of stories now, was it?
Although, as you said, it was better than the Season 3 finale.
It's not making me feel better, Gigi. Like, I keep wondering how our Titan crew couldn't all get back to Sojourners since the spacesuits have their own dedicated oxygen tanks. Why did Kelly have to sacrifice herself?
Maybe they siphoned air from the lab to be able to get back?
Well, there's only so much you can cram into an air tank, Commander. And even if that were the case, she had enough to hang around in the mobile lab for a while on her own.
Well, maybe she didn't. You saw how time was extremely flexible in the episode storytelling, with Dev getting to the elevator in no time at all, for instance. So maybe Kelly did all of that as soon as Walt and Elena left, but they only showed it at the end to be more impactful.
Okay, I can accept that. Except by placing it at the end, it gives us, the viewers, the impression she could have had more than enough air to get back if she wanted to.
And no one will ever know she was responsible for the ship landing on Titan instead of going back to Mars.
Just like it seems no one will ever know of that terrible betrayal that Dale did last season.
Don't worry, Mouse. They're just saving that for the next season because it's such a huge betrayal, right? A civilian giving away intel under torture. What a scandal, right? So worthy of dragging it on for another season.
So yeah, this finale was disappointing.
And another thing, I get that the Marsies changed the signage all over the base, but the Marines had maps. Why weren't they following the maps instead of apparently relying on faulty signage? Surely they're trained, right? And they would have known how to read a map. So how did they get lost so easily all the time?
And the ceasefire that happened just because one nation backed out. From what we saw, the American president wouldn't have agreed to stop fighting so easily.
Actually, after the fighting stopped, there would have been mass famine. They had less than 2 weeks of food left thanks to Desert's terrorism, and the Marines' ship would have likely not have enough provisions to feed everyone because they left before the attack on the domes, remember? So what happened with that? Why were there zero repercussions for any of the measured decisions that were taken during the season?
No repercussions, no tension, no actual character growth, only seeing older characters for the sake of memory nostalgia. It all felt a bit flat.
Even the discovery of life on Titan didn't feel impactful at all. Like, it was totally obvious it would happen, so there was no surprise. And why would Kelly covertly do a test? Why have an argument about it? Why would the results take so little time compared to the previous time?
For that last one, you could argue that the signal was so obvious that it would have been detected instantly, but as for taking it covertly, yeah, that's ridiculous, especially since Kelly would have had to put that sample into the outside compartment, and there's no way neither Walt nor Elena would not have been able to see her do that.
And of course, there's the fake stress of having to get back to Mars from Titan ASAP. I kept thinking once they got back to the ship, why couldn't they lift off and land closer to where Kelly was to rescue her?
Well, actually, why wasn't Sojourner affected by the same corrosion of the electronics as the rover was? Why wasn't the lab affected either, come to think of it?
It all felt like manufactured problems, like Elena's suit was ripped, right? So how were they able to fix it for her to head back to Sojourner?
That's right, you can't sew a spacesuit back together like that. It's a complex environmental life support system designed to keep you alive and warm. Well, I know the atmospheric pressure is quite high on Titan, higher than on Earth, but the biggest issue there is how crazy cold it is, coupled with an unbreathable atmosphere. I mean, realistically, Elena should have lost her leg and likely her life when she ruptured her suit.
Maybe there was a spare suit. There was supposed to be a team of 4 in that rover, right? Not 3.
But that spare suit would have been used by the 2 crew members who stayed behind producing fuel for the return trip, so no spare suit. For that reason, Elena should have been the one to stay behind. And he would have had the added benefit of not being able to go out and contaminate that leg.
So yeah, a lot of problems with this one, which led to a disappointing ending as far as we're concerned.
You think you'll watch the next and final season?
Ask me again when it comes out, in a couple of years. So, that's pretty much all we have to say for this one. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll give you the response you deserve.
Well, that's definitely the plan.
They just can't let Thieving Thuckering Thuppertash